Buenos dias. Now, to make my German teacher look good, guten Morgen. The only thing that not because of her, because of me. Okay, well, this morning I was surprised that the reading of the gospel in previous year have been placed in the Sunday of Christ the King, which is the last Sunday of the year. So I felt like I was reading the book from the back. I am not too good at reading novels. I don't have patience for them. So usually what I do, I go to the final chapter to get an idea how the plot ends. And that's it. Now, but this, the placing of this reading in the story, particularly in the first Sunday of Advent, has a great significance when we think of Luther theology. Martin Luther theology is the theology of the cross. Okay? Luther says that we really want to find God, we need to look at the cross. See, we think of God omnipotent and God omnipresent, and we love those big words that means power and glory. But in fairness, we people, we human beings, fallen creatures, only can find a merciful God when we see that God became one of us in His Son Jesus Christ. So, from this light, probably the emphasis over the rest of the year has to be the folly of the cross. See, St. Paul said, well, the preaching of the cross is foolishness for some. But the greatness of God is found right there, where God is suffering from us. Right? So we know that God loved us because God became one of us, became vulnerable, became weak, okay, and He allowed Himself to be killed, so for you and I to enjoy life and life abundantly. So when I see the reading, I see a movie in two parts. In the first part, we see people mocking Jesus, calling Him kingdom in a derogatory way. Oh, even the sarcastic inscription of the cross, the King of the Jews. Now, for the modern mind, for the people of his day, for Pilate and the high priest, to be a king means to be powerful. Okay? And then the mockery. If you are the Messiah, save yourself and save us. Because what is the idea of saving? Power, might. That's the way we people think. That is a human logic. But in God's logic, power comes through humility. Power comes through weakness. Power comes through dying so that you and I might have life. So when I read the first part, I hear people that I work with, people that I know of. Okay? They don't want anything to do with God, much less with a God that allowed Himself to be killed. We are living in interesting times. And of course, I am not going to comment on the election results at all. You won't get me that. We are living in interesting times, okay, in which the value of the divine is being diminished. People are too concentrated on the earthly kingdoms. Nice houses, nice places, nice jobs. We see our young generations growing up without a sense of value and without a strong foundation for life. In my case, I was born and raised as a Roman Catholic. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mean that Roman Catholic everything is wrong, but in my situation, in my country, they didn't teach us that Jesus was the way to God, straightforward. There was somebody in between, and most of the time more than one in between. So it was hard for us to get to Jesus. You know? So when I came to the U.S. And I was enjoying my political freedom out of capital power, out of America, beacon of life, freedom, so forth, I was really excited, but there was some kind of nagging feeling in my heart that something was missing in spite of my political freedom. And at one point in my life, Jesus found me, because I was the one that was lost. I love when people say, I found Jesus. No. Jesus found you. Jesus is never lost. Jesus is easy to be found. We're the ones that we're not looking for him. Okay? So in that night feeling, I met this lady who brought me to a Lutheran church. And after attending church for a while, I realized, wow, I need a different kind of freedom. I need freedom from myself, from my sins. And that's what Jesus made to me in those days. Okay? And what does Jesus mean to me today? Right? But in my upbringing, I had some idea who God was. I remember my grandmother teaching me the Lord's Prayer and the Apostles' Creed. We don't have today many grandmas doing this. Because some modern grandmas was raised in the flower generation time, in the 60s, which the idea was to have fun, to listen to the funky music, and to listen to Jefferson Airplane, and to go to Woodstock, and to enjoy other elements that were part of the culture. I don't have to be too explicit, but you know what I mean. And that generation today is the one that is empowered university presidents and chief of academic faculty in many high learning institutions. And it's a generation disjoined from the teaching of the gospel. And then you give what you have, right? So that's why we have so many kids today, so many young folks today that have a very naturalistic view of life that cannot consider that is a spiritual element in our human makeup. And we have a lot of confusion around. And that's why Jesus is one among many. There is a lot of search for spirituality. Let me tell you. You go to bookstores and the section of spirituality is filled with tons of books. But what people are looking at is a type of spirituality that is separated from community and from commitment and from the reality that is something that is we call right and there's something that is opposite that we call wrong. I mean, the distinction between both today is kind of blurred and it is inexistent for some. And that is the state of many millennials today. They are and thinking of my own grandson raised in the church. Now he's going to be 20 years old and he has some troubles dealing with independence as an adult. Going to school, now listening to one of these professors that was exposed to the gospel and bringing ideas that I laugh, but I also am concerned because ideas has power and consequences. Okay? So this is the environment today. Okay? This is the environment today. People have lost track that there is a gap. I met people say, well, I don't bring my children to church. I don't teach them any kind of religious principle because when they grow up, they are going to be able to choose and decide what they want to be. And then I think, well, are you a parent or a friend? Now, let me explain something. You may not like it, and I major on that. Okay? Parents are parents, and friends are friends. Okay? I was blessed that my parents were my parents. And even today, when I am only 63 years old, my mother is my mother. And when I talk to her, there are certain things that I don't discuss with her because she's my mother. So somewhat, we are living kind of an age of irrationality. You know how you see that series, The Age of Reason, The Age of Faith? You know, describing certain historical moments in history. Well, if we had to write something for this age, if I had to write, I would say the age of irrationality. There is some kind of loss of common sense in the way we are doing business, in the way we are looking at life. Because when God is not in our lives, when God is absent, we won't get the right orientation that we need to be good parents. And I don't mean that people that don't do this mean wrong to their children. What I mean is the ignorance in which many people are growing up believing this naturalistic viewpoint of life. They're missing the most important element, which is God. See, from creation, we need to understand that we have been created to worship Him. Simply. If we believe what the Bible said, that we've been created in God's likeness and image, that doesn't mean that once I was born, I have to get away from Him. That means that my life finds meaning and purpose in Him. See? My life has purpose today because Jesus found me 30-some years ago. And I thought, well, I made it, I'm in the U.S., I have a college degree. No. We need God. What Jesus said in John chapter 15, separated from me or away from me, there's nothing you can do. And do you know who's speaking those words? God Himself. So it is interesting. You know, when I was reading the first part of this passage, I was thinking of the contemporary scene. What's going on with people today? And even people in the church. Well, everybody has his own truth. Postmodern thinking, deconstruction. There is no true, absolute truth, and all that kind of. And I say, well, you think so? I dare you to drop yourself from the top floor from Empire State without a parachute, and let me see what's going to happen. Or if there is no absolute truth, we should burn all the books in the libraries. Because the wealth of knowledge that have accumulated through the centuries has to mean something, don't you think? So those people that have been daring to drop themselves from the Empire State, no one has taken upon that without a parachute. Because there is something we call truth. And when somebody said there is no absolute truth, you cannot even believe that, because that is a self-defeating statement. If there is no absolute truth, why don't you believe that? But there is one that said, I am the way. I can hear you. I am the way,
the truth,
and
the truth.
So, there are some truth somewhere, right? See? And that truth is found in Jesus. And then when we look at the second part of the passage, let's move to part 2. That Jesus is there suffering. But he's not thinking of himself. He is listening to the mockery from the unrepentant thief, but at the same time he's listening to the pleas of the repentant one. That must be a very painful moment for him. He's not thinking about his own suffering. Because he knows that his suffering has a purpose, redemptive purpose. And then in this interesting encounter and conversation, we can see the reason of Christmas. Jesus was born to die for our sins. And then in this conversation, he's not complaining about the wounds and the pain. He's simply opening heaven for the repentant thief. And to me, that is where we have to zoom the camera. We need to magnify the moment. Because you and I are the repentant thief. And when he was offering to open paradise for him, it's the prelude that this paradise is open for you and for me too, through faith in Christ. And even in that moment of pain, he's thinking of you and me. Because one thing that sometimes we don't understand is that we need to personalize what Jesus did for every human being. Jesus died for my sins. Can you say that?
Jesus died for my sins.
So you can say, I would say, Jesus died for Aurelio. I'm going to be a little bit selfish now. I'm going to be thinking of my own. Okay? So Jesus died for everybody's sin, even for the sins of those that are rejecting him today. And that is one thing that we need to keep in mind. Because that is a source of comfort, it's a source of consolation, also is a source of strength and hope, and also is the motivation to let people know about Jesus' love for them. Because what is happening today, we Christians also mentioning, complaining about how bad the world is. It's true. But we do not spend time sharing with people this not only good, but this great news of salvation. And then some of us, some people are placing their hope in who's going to be elected for the next year. And some are placing their hope in the which political party have the more clout. And we say in the less lies. Sorry. But we're not really focusing on the eternal. We're focusing on the temporal. And doesn't matter who is going to be in power. We are the people of God. You know what that means? Our present life and future life is secure in God's hands. That's what that means. It doesn't mean to shy away from the political process. It means to be there, but knowing that my King and my final allegiance will go to Jesus the Christ. And whatever I do, it has to be done through those lenses. Not to lose sight of who we are as the people of God. That's the way I look at it. So the story is very simple. For those that are trusting Jesus, they will hear the same words that the thief on the cross heard. Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. Do you believe those words? Yes or no? Yeah? Then I will see you in paradise. May the Lord bless you and keep you and give you the strength and hope to continue trusting in His mercy. Amen.